It's time for The Local with your host and realtor, Katie McKinney.
Hey guys, it's Katie McKinney here, your local real estate professional, and today, very excited to have Chris Castor on The Local.
How's it going?
Thanks for being here, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Chris and I would like to say go way back, but way back from when I really first moved here, which was a couple of years ago, and I was needing a little bit of help with drone video, really a lot of questions that I had. I was not very good at getting video out there, video production, and just being creative. So, of course, I went to the best Woodward has to offer, in my opinion, when it comes to videography and more. And, you know, he doesn't do just videography. It is drone, art. What else do you do?
The best kind of phrase I use is like a multimedia producer.
Multimedia producer.
Because it kind of covers all of it. Yeah, so I do video, graphic design, fine arts.
Everything.
I've done just about everything in the arts. I don't know that I'm good at everything, but I've done just about everything. So
Jack of all trades, I would say. So obviously, you're from Woodward originally, correct?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, you know, where you came from. Did you grow up in Woodward your whole life? How'd you get back to Woodward? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I was born actually in Shattuck, but my family's lived here in Woodward all of our lives. I moved away for a brief time during college and for a few years after that, and just wanted to be back near my family. So pretty much all of my family's here except just a few, and so that's really valuable to me, and just it's been afforded me the opportunity to work where my family is, and so that's why I choose to be here. And
That's neat.
Yeah,
That's neat. Where did you go to college?
I went to University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma in Chickasha.
I knew
USAO.
it was some very unique school that sounds like I wouldn't make it in. They'd be like, draw a person.
They have all
stick.
kinds of, it's science and arts.
Okay,
So yeah,
science and arts.
Yeah,
Okay.
all kinds of stuff.
That's neat. That's neat. And did you always know that you wanted to be in all of these different avenues of art?
So really early on, I always drew and sang, and I was telling somebody actually the other day that in high school they had a 4-track recorder. And we didn't have any computers or technology to record, and so I would go in there and I would see if I could borrow the 4-track recorder for the weekend, and I would take it home and I'd record me playing on the guitar and all that stuff, and then I would take it back the next week, and then I would go back and get it the next weekend. And so I was always trying to do things like that. I was taking even before that, I was taking cassette tapes, and I was bouncing cassette tapes back and forth, putting stuff like that. Just always interested in music and arts and drawing. I was always just building something. My mom was really good about like encouraging us to make something rather than buy something, and so that was always really fun. But yeah, I've in high school is when I decided I need to start thinking about this for an actual career. And so I was taking a few fiber optic classes. I went to Sharon Mutual for a while. Okay. And I got a great school, but they just didn't have what I needed, and so I moved back to Woodward Schools and studied with Roxy Merklin.
Oh, cool.
Great art teacher.
This was really meant to be from the beginning, though, wasn't it?
Yes. That's the only thing I ever knew I wanted to do.
Yes, you're good at it. You enjoyed it. That's awesome. That's excellent. And cool that you got to go to a school for that. That really developed you further professionally. So really neat. Chris has his wife, Callie, and 2 of the most adorable kids, Kai and Lucy.
Biased, but
they are. Kind of a cool aside here. Callie was my first part-time. She was more than an assistant, but she did kind of a lot of work for me and helped me grow my business. So I will be forever indebted to her as well.
She loved working with you too.
Yeah,
so.
She's a special person in my life. So obviously we know how you got into it from the beginning, and I want to know a little bit about who you work for now.
Okay. Yeah, I work for a company called the Skit Guys. So They do a lot of different things, but it started out as these two high school buddies, Tommy and Eddie, and they just decided, hey, they were in drama and all this. We want to do this, try to make a living at it. And so just over a period of time, they started doing kind of sketch comedy for churches, for the youth groups, things like that. And just over time, it blossomed into something a lot bigger. They travel around the world now doing that, and we've also kind of added a short film division to Skit Guys and Skit Guys Studios. And so we create, the team that I work on, we create content under our brand that churches can purchase and use in their services. So, for example, right now I'm working on stuff for Easter.
Okay.
So come Easter, people can go to our site and buy, it'll be a set of, I think, 5, we call them mini movies in this market, but mini movies that have to do with the Easter story. And they'll come with graphics where I'll create a whole graphic suite where a church could buy this and advertise for it. They'll have everything need to advertise for it. They'll have even stuff like for the pastors, like to help them craft sermons that would go with the videos. We basically just give them everything they would need to be a success. Scripts if they want to perform them live. And so we have a great team of about, I think about 17 people.
Wow.
That we just, we got about 4 people doing the video stuff, and then we got people doing the scripts, and we got people coordinating their schedules to fly them to their next show and things like that. So it's a really great team, and really love being a part of it.
And they're based out of?
Everybody works remotely.
Okay.
So there's
just super
people
cool
in Colorado, San Diego, Oklahoma, Dallas, and other places. So,
welcome 2020.
Yeah.
That's really neat that they're able to work remotely, but then still feel that community, and be able to work together as well. Do they do any sort of, film producing for like a major film or like a movie? Like what we would consider us average folks would consider a movie.
It would be like what you would call a feature film.
Yes.
And so we're actually in the process right now of you would call it pre-production.
Okay.
Pre-production for our first feature film, and we're really excited about it. I'm not sure how much I should say about it, but but come spring, around April, we're going to film in Oklahoma City and Guthrie.
Okay.
And we are being kind of funded by the same people that have done movies like I Can Only Imagine, God's Not Dead, all these big faith-based movies, and that's what we will be. We're going to try to create kind of a world of Christian family comedies that anybody can take their family to and not be afraid of what they're going to see,
right? But
also that has just a lot of great laughs and good teaching moments about what it means to be family and parents and things like that. And so we're really excited about it. So hopefully in 2021, our theater will have it, and theaters nationwide will have it.
That is really
our first
cool.
Feature, yeah.
That's awesome.
Really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. And to film somewhere like Guthrie, man, that's a unique town. Really love that town. So obviously you've got a lot of projects under your belt. But I kind of want to know, what are a few of your favorite projects that you've done in the past?
Okay, favorite projects. So I have made a lot of short films with my family, and those are some of my favorites. My son, or with some friends. They're not the best quality, but they're
I think they're great.
Thank you. They're because they're low budget or no budget,
right?
And just with what extra time I have, which is not very much, but I love those. They're just special, fun moments, with special moments with my friends and things like that, and with Kai, they're just good opportunities to share something I love with the people I care about. And so that's a lot of fun. Some of kind of the bigger projects I've worked on, as I mentioned, I went to USAO. And so my degree is actually in the fine arts. Like, I didn't touch anything with film until after I got out of college.
Wow.
And so I have a degree in the fine arts, but my fun dad joke I like to tell is you can't make money as an artist unless you're dead or maimed in some way. And so
so true.
So I decided right out of college I needed to figure out something else to do. but that's a different story. But anyway, back to the painting. So my degree is in fine arts painting.
Right.
But so one of the most fun projects I've ever done is I got to go to, when Kevin Durant was here, a charity gala that he put on for his foundation. They hired me to come in and paint a portrait of him live. And so I started that at home and kind of got it to a good place where I could finish it, in a few hours, and then took that and painted there live as all the people in Oklahoma City kind of wandered around. It was really nerve-wracking because Russell Westbrook would stand right behind me, or Sam Presti or whatever.
Yes.
And, I kind of my way I paint is I'm painting up close, and then I take a few steps back to look at it and then come back. So I kept like almost running into these people. And,
that you really, they were really cool that
really
they were
cool
there.
People, yeah. And so it was just fun because it was kind of just one of those things that I would have never thought I would have got to see, and most people never get to see. Just kind of the being around people, like they're just people and everything, but there's something about being around people is just like, whoa.
And you got to present it to him.
Yes, yeah,
which was really cool.
Which was real scary. I had to walk in front of the whole Thunder team and all these.
Yeah.
Who knows what they do in Oklahoma City, big name people.
Right.
And when I was walking up to the stage, Steven Adams was walking right behind me, coming back from the restroom. And I turned around and saw him like looking way up in the air. And I was like, hey, I'm Chris. And I was like, I'm just going to meet people. I'm just going to not be afraid. So I reached out to shake his hand, and he felt like his hand grabbed like half of my arm. And like my arm
all
was
the way
like
up to
reaching
your
way
elbow.
he's like, hey, I'm Steven. I was like, hey, nice to meet you. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, but you did say that they on your family kind of based videos and friends. He says that they were low budget and they weren't maybe not very as well produced or professional as some, but he will also not probably brag on himself that those were nominated for several different drone film festivals. And I know that the most recent one, you actually got to go to Germany.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So that was really cool. That was for actually one of the first films I did it was the first film I did with my drone called Cardboard Cadet. And it was when Kai was just about to turn 5. And basically, if you haven't seen it, we make it look like he's flying all over town in a cardboard airplane. And so when I first got my drone, I was trying to figure out how can I use this to tell a story? There's lots of beautiful drone videos out there of just people flying in the Alps or wherever.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I don't have the Alps here. And I have some beautiful stuff, but it's limited.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I was like, how can I utilize story more than just location? And so we wrote a story, and it ended up being really well received. But we were picked top 12 out of 800 films to go to Germany, and it was really fun. They took really great care of us. We got to stay in this awesome hotel, and we didn't win. There was 2 top prizes, an online prize, and then a overall prize. And so we didn't win those, but the guy that won, he was sponsored by Red Bull. His film was created through Red Bull, funded by them. And he actually told me before the festival, which just humbled me so much. He's like, "You're gonna win."
Aww.
And then he ended up winning. He came over to my table afterwards and was like, "I don't know how you won or didn't win." But his was a great,
really
film.
great,
really great. But anyway, it was a wonderful trip. My brother-in-law Nathan got to go with me, and we had just a great time hanging out in Germany and seeing all the sights. And like I said, they just took really great care of us. It's actually put on by Peugeot, which is a car manufacturer.
Yes.
Awesome cars. They picked us up from the airport.
I saw
and
that.
Then,
fancy schmancy.
Yeah. And then DJI, which is probably the world's top drone producer, was the other sponsor, and it was super fun. We got to hang out with the regional director of product development for Europe, and he showed us all their just cool gear, which we got to wish that we had and we'll never be able to afford. So it was a really great trip, and a really humbling, to think that my film that I spent maybe $20 to $50 on was up there with one,
with Red Bull.
And so
Red Bull
and that's happened several times with the drone film festivals are really fun because they're kind of niche. They're they're not as kind of crazy to get into as the just a regular film festival is.
Right.
And so they're kind of fun because they're new and they're more technology driven. And so, and there's also, like I mentioned earlier, there's only so much you can do with a drone, so much you can shoot.
Right.
And so, like, my goal has just been, well, how can I be creative? Can I ride this drone wave for a little while? How can I creatively use this to tell stories that's not like everybody else's?
Right.
And so
That's neat. That's a really good perspective of that as well. And I love that your family's involved every step of the way. So that's really neat too. So kind of changing gears here, obviously you're very qualified to talk about this, which is why I'm asking, but why do you think the approach to marketing has really shifted to being so video driven in the last decade, really?
I would say probably the number one thing, if I were to put my finger on it, would be accessibility.
Right.
So, just thinking back to when I was in college, right before I got my first camera, I mean, there was hardly anything for me to get my hands on to learn how to shoot. Some of the first videos I shot were on a mini DV, those little cartridges, and you had to plug them into your camcorder, plug them into a computer. You had to transfer the footage real time. Like, so if you shot an hour's worth of footage, you sat there for an hour and watched it transfer.
Wow.
And then, just editing, all that stuff. It was like I didn't have a computer that could edit video footage, anything like that.
Yeah.
And so, but then, 2 to 3 years later after I graduated college, I could get my first quality video camera for $1,000.
Yeah.
As opposed to tens of thousands of dollars for the same quality of a video camera before that.
Yeah.
And so, then you look around, we got smartphones and tablets and all this stuff now, and really there's no reason anybody should be able to not shoot a decent video with just what they have in their pocket.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I would say accessibility is one of them. Probably accessibility. I made some notes. I can't remember now. Credibility. So I think nowadays when you are a legitimate business, when you do things to look credible to people,
yes,
you have a website that looks good, you have video content that looks well produced, it's not shaky and bad audio and all this stuff.
Right.
There's just this air of we have, even if you don't, we have our stuff together, and we look like we know what we're doing.
Right.
And in all honesty, when I go as a customer to places, I look for credibility. So what are you doing that makes me at least think that you are the best one for the job?
Right.
There could be lots of people that's better, but if you present yourself better, there's a good chance I'm going to go with you over somebody who doesn't.
Yes.
And then
I agree with that, especially now, because like you said, it's so easy. It's so easily accessible. Why aren't you doing it? If it's so easily accessible, or is it just because you don't know how? Or maybe you just don't want to? Maybe you've got all the customers you want and you don't want to grow.
Sure.
But usually those businesses that are out there and really putting out great content, it does definitely give them credibility. It makes it look like they're trying, you know? And that's what we hope to do with real estate is we can't just take pictures with our phones anymore and say, yep, that's it. That's what you're going to buy. We need to be out there really showing that we know what we're talking about with the property, also show it in its best light, which is really important.
Absolutely. I think there's something personal about video too, especially the way whatever way you do it. There's you're trying to engage your customer in a way that they can know you a little bit, I guess.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I love that. I love it. When we did our introduction for the new brokerage EXP, we just, when we made that transition, having us on there introducing what we're doing and the change that we're doing, I feel like that, people came right from the horse's mouth, what we were doing, and they could relate to us and know exactly what and of course, Chris produced that. So thank you. Thank you, Chris. I guess the last question I have, what are 3 ways that businesses or business owners can utilize video with their marketing?
Yeah. So I think there's your obvious things like commercials, explainer videos. There are testimonial type videos.
Mm-hmm.
There's all those kind of things you think of when you think of like, I want to make a video for my business.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things I think too that we don't think about as often. Maybe videos that might teach either your staff or a client how to use a product, or something like that. I think businesses forget about those things a lot.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
there's lots of, I mean, I think of businesses all over town that could benefit from a boss not have to sit in front of another person and teach
Right.
them every step. If you had a
Oh,
video of
definitely.
it, every time you had a new
Training.
training,
for
and the
employees.
same for your product. If you have a product that requires like assembly or different things like that,
Yeah.
there's really a lot of value in those.
Yeah.
There's value in if you work in some specific trade, maybe giving insights into how to do simple things that maybe they don't need to call you for.
Yeah.
Like a plumber, for example. Like if I can go online and figure out how to do something without having to call somebody, I'm going to go watch a YouTube video.
Yes.
And so, if I am going to a plumber that, he's going to teach me how to fix a simple thing on one of my pipes, I'm going to do that, but then I'm going to be more likely to go back to him when I have a bigger problem.
Right.
Because he's provided me with a way to save money
Yes.
in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think there's things like that like we don't think of very often.
No.
That really benefit businesses and show that you want to invest into your client and not just take their money.
Yeah.
You want to invest in them and care for them, and then that favor is usually returned in a lot of
I agree with
a lot
that.
of opportunities.
I agree with that. Those are all really good points and good ways people can do that. Most definitely. So I guess just, closing up here, I just want to know, why do you enjoy doing business and working here in Northwest Oklahoma?
Well, I actually don't do a whole lot of business in Northwest Oklahoma. I do a little bit. Part of that is
some of my business.
I do your business. I do your business.
Some other, other
and
people
a few
around.
other, but
The church.
The church.
You really
I
help
do
out
some
at
stuff
Lincoln
at the church.
Avenue, yeah.
Part of that's just because I'm busy.
Yes.
With
Yeah, you
Skit
are.
Guys is my full-time job, and so any freelance I do apart from that is kind of just what I can or want to take.
An extra favor or two.
Sure. And the other reason too is so I just love Northwest Oklahoma, and I think we're at a really unique place right now where there's a lot of growth happening. I think Woodward, just because of our particular place, it takes a while sometimes for things to come in to play that might already be well established in Oklahoma City or something like that. And that's great, and that's what gives this town its charm. I think is there's like a kind of just a slowness to things, which is great, and that's one thing I love about being here. But I think too, there's the opportunity there for all of us, that own businesses or do particular things to grow. And that's an exciting thing for me, is that like we have a great opportunity here to learn these things and do them right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we jump in and we do it wrong for a long time. Or not necessarily wrong, but just could be done better.
Exactly.
And so it's, I think just like things like this podcast and things like that give us a great opportunity to see into some things that other people do and to grow and to be better at doing business ourselves.
I really appreciate that feedback, and I completely agree with you. Woodward is at a kind of a cool journey. They're in a cool journey here with kind of the new technologies, but a lot of the older traditional way of doing business, which I actually love. That intersection there between the two things. Not everything has to be, just remote or with technology, but not everything has to be the traditional way of doing it as well. It could be a little bit of an intersection of both things. So I appreciate you so much for being on the podcast,
thank you for having
Chris.
Me. It's been
And
fun.
thank you for being here. Make sure and check out High Plains Technology. I believe in the next several months, they're going to be having February. They're going to be having a new kind of workshop series, and Chris will be featured on that, trying to get more advertising and kind of just ideas to grow your brand.
Just trying to give some insight to help small businesses. So there's several people speaking. probably people that are more qualified than myself. But
Whatever.
but just to kind of help small
Yeah.
businesses kind of think of creative ways to kind of grow their business. Like just being in Woodward, we're in a unique market, and so how can we use that market just to kind of move forward? And so
Excellent.
it's going to be good.
Good. Be looking for that, and I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you.